Bayou country is a land torn asunder, with roads and towns left abandoned. The radiation has ravaged the land, and life has become a struggle. The year is 2309, over 230 years after the bombs dropped. War has broken out across the many factions for control of the Mississippi River and Nolans. Uncountable people die each day to the unforgiving wastes, with monsters and warfare at every corner. The people of these inhospitable wetlands spend their lives beating back the bayou, hoping to survive long enough to scrounge together the caps they need to make it to the mythical Nolans, formerly the pre-war city of New Orleans. You are Chris Conard, a human trader with a carnivore mutation. As a trader, you travel from town to town selling supplies and other goods. You're currently in Lafayette, the capital city of the Lamette Confederation of States, where you've set up a makeshift shop in the trading post. Your skin is a shade paler than the average human, and your sense of smell is heightened thanks to your mutation. As you arrange your wares, a familiar face approaches you. It's Étienne, a fellow trader and your business partner. Chris, I need a favor, Étienne says, his voice low and urgent. I've got a shipment of medicine coming in from Nolans, but the Lamette Confederation is cracking down on smuggling. I need you to help me get it through customs undetected. Étienne glances around the crowded trading post, ensuring no one is listening in. I'll owe you one, Chris, big time. You say, and how do you suppose I do that? Étienne leans in closer, his breath hot and pungent against your ear. There's a caravan leaving for Opelousas tomorrow, he whispers. They're transporting food supplies, and they're known to take on extra cargo here and there. If we slip the medicine into their wagons when they're not looking, it should go right through. You're a traitor, Chris. They won't suspect you. Étienne pauses, studying your face. He clearly wants to make sure you understand the risks involved. This is important, Chris, he says. If that medicine doesn't make it to New Iberia, a lot of people are going to suffer. You say fuck playing the guilt card, huh? Étienne smirks. Guilty as charged, but you know it's true. Look, Chris, I need your help on this. I can't do it alone. We can split the profits down the middle, just like we always do. What do you say? The caravan is set to leave tomorrow morning at dawn. There's no time to lose. If you agree to help Étienne, you'll need to find a way to sneak the medicine onto the caravan's wagons without getting caught. The guards at the checkpoint are known to be particularly vigilant lately, but if you can manage it, the medicine will be on its way to New Iberia before anyone knows it. On the other hand, you could refuse Étienne's request. He'll likely find someone else to help him, but you'll lose out on the potential profit in any future deals with him. Not to mention, you'll be missing out on the chance to help out your fellow trader in a time of need. You say, fuck you, Étienne. I fucking guess I'll help you, but if they kill me over this, I'll haunt the ever-loving shit out of you. Étienne lets out a relieved laugh. Thanks, man. I owe you one. We'll make sure this goes smoothly. And I swear, when we both get our share of this, we'll have the best damn party Lafayette's ever seen. He slaps you on the back, the gesture almost aggressive in its camaraderie. Now let's go over the plan one more time and make sure we've got everything covered. You say, yeah, should probably fucking do that. Better be a good plan, boy. Étienne nods, sitting down on a nearby crate. Okay, here's what we're gonna do. We'll wait until the caravan stops for the night outside of town. Then, we'll sneak out here to the camp and find one of the supply wagons. The guards patrol at regular intervals, but they aren't as thorough when they're not expecting trouble. We'll have to move fast, though. Étienne pulls out a small sack of medicine from his coat pocket and hands it to you. This is the medicine we're talking about. Make sure you remember which wagon it goes in. Once we've done this, we'll meet back at our shops and wait for news. You nod, taking the sack of medicine and tucking it into your own coat. Got it, Étienne. Let's hope we don't get caught. The two of you return to your respective shops, waiting out the rest of the day in anxious anticipation. As night falls and the caravan prepares to leave, you and Étienne sneak out of town, making your way towards the camp under cover of darkness. The caravan is sprawled out across the dirt road, wagons lashed together to form a makeshift fortress against the night. You and Étienne creep silently through the camp, keeping your eyes peeled for any guards. After several minutes of searching, you spot a supply wagon near the back, its contents labeled with a faded piece of cloth reading, "Corn and flour." Perfect. Étienne motions for you to stay back while he approaches the wagon. He rummages through some crates, distracting the caravan driver who's dozing nearby, while you slip the sack of medicine underneath one of the wagon's planks. Once you're sure it's hidden, the two of you hurry back to town, hearts pounding in your chests. You and Étienne meet at your shop, trying to pretend that you've been there all night. The hours drag on, but eventually the sun rises again, signaling the caravan's departure for Opelousas. You say, so how long you reckon till we get paid? Étienne shrugs. It could be a few days, maybe a week. The sooner we hear anything, the better. Just be patient and keep your eyes peeled. He glances around furtively before continuing. I'll send word if I hear anything, and if I don't, we'll meet back here at the same time tomorrow. The two of you go about your business for the rest of the day, keeping a casual eye on the goings-on in Lafayette. The Cajun Dome bustles with activity as slave traders from across Dixie's territory gather to buy and sell human cattle. The trading post is a flurry of activity as plantation owners barter for goods and services, and the streets are filled with people going about their daily lives in the shadow of the Lamont Confederation's oppressive regime. The sun begins to set, painting the sky in shades of pink and orange. As darkness falls once more, you find yourself unable to shake the feeling that something is about to happen. Whether it's the tension in the air or your own nervous anticipation, you can't quite put your finger on it. All you know is that this feeling isn't going away anytime soon. You spend the rest of the evening idly flipping through old catalogs, trying to ignore the prickling sensation at the back of your neck. As the night wears on, the unease grows more and more unbearable. Suddenly, a figure darts across your field of vision outside your shop window. It's Étienne, looking far more frantic than usual. He motions for you to come outside, his fingers pressing urgently against his lips in a shushing gesture. You meet Étienne in the alleyway behind your shop, where he collapses against the wall, breathing heavily. They found it, he whispers, the medicine. They know we were the ones who planted it. We've got to get out of here. Panic surges through you as you realize the gravity of the situation. There's no time to lose. If you want to survive, you'll have to act fast. Do you trust Étienne and follow him? Or do you go your separate ways and try to face the danger alone? You say, do you have a gun I can have, Étienne? I need a fucking gun, man. Étienne, looking even more panicked now, shakes his head. No, man. They'd confiscate it if they found out. We're just gonna have to get out of here the best we can. Come on, we can lose them in the swamps. Without waiting for your response, he takes off at a sprint, weaving through the alleys and back streets of Lafayette. You hesitate for a moment, torn between trusting Étienne and running with him, or trying to fend for yourself. You're already starting to lose sight of your friend in the crowds. In the distance, you can hear the sound of hoofbeats drawing closer. It seems that no matter what you do, danger is fast approaching. Étienne darts into an alley, disappearing from view for a moment before emerging on the other side. You manage to keep him in sight as he sprints through the crowded streets of Lafayette, threading his way through the mass of people like a rat through a maze. The sound of hoofbeats draws ever closer behind you, but you force yourself to ignore it, focusing on keeping up with your friend. He leads you through the city, ducking into one alleyway after another, until finally he stops at a ramshackle wooden bridge that spans across a narrow bayou. Quick, over here, he hisses, gesturing for you to follow him onto the creaky bridge. As you approach, you see the water below is teeming with alligators, sunlight glinting off their scaly hides. The smell of the swamp is thick in the air, and the sound of distant gunfire echoes through the trees. Étienne motions for you to hurry as he starts across the bridge, his feet splashing into the water as he steps from plank to plank. The bridge sways dangerously beneath your feet, and the alligators below seem to grow larger with each passing second. You force yourself to concentrate on the task at hand, following your friend into the heart of the swamp and away from the pursuing horsemen. The bridge sways dangerously beneath your feet, and the alligators below seem to grow larger with each passing second. You force yourself to concentrate on the task at hand, following your friend into the heart of the swamp and away from the pursuing horsemen. As you reach the midpoint of the bridge, you glance back over your shoulder and see the horsemen bearing down on you. The lead rider draws back his whip, the the crack of leather filling the air, and the lash snakes out, whipping across the bridge mere inches from your feet. You stumble, falling to your knees, heart pounding in your throat. Étienne, now just a few steps ahead of you, glances back over his shoulder, concern etched onto his face. "Hurry, man, you can make it," he shouts, even as the lead rider readies another lash of his whip. You take a deep breath, willing yourself not to panic, and scramble to your feet, sprinting after your friend. The alligators below you seem to grow even more numerous and menacing, their predatory eyes fixed on you as you run for your life. The horsemen are closing in fast now, but you can still hear your friend's voice urging you on, guiding you deeper into the swamp. The bridge finally ends, dumping you out onto a muddy bank. Étienne turns to face you, gasping for air, and extends a hand to help you up. "Come on," he pants. "We have to keep moving. They'll be coming after us any second." Together, you plunge deeper into the swamp, the dense vegetation obscuring your surroundings and muffling the sound of pursuit. The oppressive heat of the bayou is nearly unbearable, and the air is thick with the cries of insects and the strange alien songs of unseen creatures. As you press deeper into the swamp, you begin to wonder if you'll ever find your way out. The only thing you know for certain is that you can't stop running. The Dixies will stop at nothing to punish those who defy them, and, if you're caught, there will be no mercy. You take a few deep breaths, regaining your strength, and hurry after Étienne, doing your best not to make any noise that might draw the pursuers to you. The swamp seems to go on forever, but eventually you catch a glimpse of sunlight filtering through the trees up ahead. "Étienne," you shout, pointing in the direction of the light. Your friend glances back, a relieved expression on his face, and nods. "I see it," he says. "It must be a clearing, or one of the smaller settlements. We can lose them for good if we can make it there." With renewed energy, you both push forward through the swamp, the sounds of pursuit growing fainter with each step. Soon you emerge from the dense vegetation into a small, ramshackle settlement, the inhabitants of which all glance nervously at the pair of drenched, mud-caked strangers who've just stumbled out of the bayou. But for now you're safe. You can breathe again. The Lamont Confederation's reach may be long and cruel, but for the moment you're free. You say, "What the fuck, Étienne, drawing me into this bullshit?" Étienne looks sheepish for a moment, then puts a reassuring hand on your shoulder. "Hey man, I'm sorry. I needed help, and you were the only one I could trust. I knew you could handle it. Thank you for coming." He pauses, his expression turning more serious. "Listen, we can't stay here. They'll be looking for us. But if we head west, we should be able to lose them for good. We can make our way to the neutral territory around New Iberia, and from there." He trails off, not wanting to get your hopes up. You study his face for a moment, trying to decide whether to trust him. He's your friend, but in the world of the Lamont Confederation, loyalty can be a thin thread. After a tense moment, you nod reluctantly. "All right," you say, "let's go." But if this shit ever happens again, you let the threat hang in the air as you turn to head west, following Étienne through the ramshackle settlement and back into the dense swamp beyond. The going is slow and treacherous, but you make steady progress, avoiding the larger creatures that lurk in the underbrush. As the sun begins to sink low in the sky, you catch a glimpse of a small clearing ahead, marked by the presence of a single lean-to. "There," Étienne whispers, pointing toward the shelter. "We can rest there for the night and press on fresh in the morning." You follow his gaze and see the dim flicker of a fire burning within the lean-to. Whoever lives here has built a makeshift shelter, but it looks like it would at least provide some protection from the elements. You nod wearily and trudge onward, eager to find some place to collapse and sleep. As you approach the lean-to, the figure of a lone woman can be seen tending the fire, her back turned toward you. She seems unaware of your presence, lost in her own thoughts. Étienne hesitates for a moment, then nudges you. "Go on," he whispers. "I'll catch up. You talk to her. Maybe we can convince her to let us stay for the night." You step closer to the lean-to, trying to make yourself as non-threatening as possible. The woman glances up at your approach, her eyes narrowing slightly in appraisal. "Evening," you mutter, feeling instantly self-conscious under her scrutinizing gaze. She purses her lips before responding. "It's hardly evening anymore," she says, looking back down at the fire. My name's Mara. There's a wariness in her voice, but she doesn't seem aggressive. You introduce yourself and Étienne in turn, trying to make conversation. We've been traveling a long way, you say, indicating the swamp behind you. We're just looking for a place to rest for the night. Mara shifts uncomfortably, her eyes darting between you and Étienne. This ain't no inn, you know, she says, her accent thick. And there's been trouble lately, people from the Dixies trying to push into neutral territory. She hesitates, looking first at you, then at Étienne, before continuing. But I suppose I can spare the space. Just be careful where you put your things, all right? Étienne nods gratefully and takes a step closer to Mara. Mara, we really appreciate this. We won't cause any trouble, I promise. We're just trying to make our way to New Iberia. We heard it's a bit safer there. There's an undercurrent of desperation in his voice that you can't help but hear. You exchange a worried glance with him. Mara meets Étienne's eyes calmly, her expression softening a fraction. I've heard things, she says, her voice little more than a whisper. Things about Nolans, about the Lamette Confederation, about what they're really like. And I guess I just want to help if I can. But be careful, you hear? They're not the saviors they make themselves out to be. As the evening wears on, you share stories with Mara, trading tales of the bayou and the horrors of the war. You say, "So what brings you out here, Mara?" Mara laughs bitterly. Out here? Just trying to stay alive, same as everyone else. The Lamette Confederation's got their fingers in everything these days, taxing us to the bone. The people of Nolans used to be free, you know. We had our own lives, our own way of doing things. Now it's all just suffocating. She gestures toward the swamp around you, the darkness pressing in on all sides. I keep thinking maybe I'll find a way out, maybe I'll find someplace better. But for now, this is home. There's a long silence as she stares into the fire, lost in thought. After a moment, she looks up at you, her eyes serious. You be careful, you hear? The Dixies, they're not your friends. They'll tear you apart if they get the chance. She nods toward Étienne, her meaning clear. And don't trust everyone you meet out here. There's all sorts of folks in these parts, not all of them are what they seem. You nod, grateful for her words of warning. You exchange another glance with Étienne, knowing that they've both heard her message loud and clear. As the night wears on, you listen to the distant howls of the wolves and the creak of the wooden bridge, reminders of the dangers that lurk just beyond the light of the fire. You find a relatively dry spot on the floor near the fire and curl up into a ball, using your coat as a makeshift pillow. Exhaustion quickly overtakes you, and despite the unfamiliar surroundings and the unsettling stories you've heard tonight, you manage to drift off to sleep. Étienne, sensing your fatigue, gently nudges you awake a few hours later. He motions for you to follow him outside, where it's still dark but beginning to grow light in the eastern sky. They've apparently managed to come up with a plan while you were asleep. Mara said there's a group of her friends who sometimes travel this way, heading to Nolans, Étienne explains. We're going to sneak onto their caravan and hide until we reach New Iberia. She said they should be passing through in a few hours. You nod, rubbing the sleep from your eyes. This seems like a risky plan, but right now it's probably your best shot at getting to safety. You and Étienne creep through the woods, avoiding any disturbance that might alert Mara's allies to your presence. As you near the edge of the trees, you spy a caravan of wagons moving slowly through the swamp, their progress hampered by the thick mud. There are armed guards posted along the perimeter, but with Étienne's help, you manage to sneak onto one of the wagons and hide under a tarp. Hours pass, the sun rising higher in the sky, but you manage to remain hidden as the caravan continues its slow journey through the swamp. Finally, the wagons begin to emerge from the trees, entering a small settlement that Mara had told you about. This must be New Iberia. You and Étienne wait anxiously for a safe opportunity to escape the wagon, dreading the moment when you'll have to reveal your presence to the other travelers. The caravan comes to a halt near the center of the village, and you hear shouting and commotion as the guards exchange words with the locals. You and Étienne share a worried glance, unsure of what to do next. As the shouting continues, the tension between the guards and the locals grows more intense. You and Étienne exchange a worried look, but there's not much you can do right now. You decide to wait for a good opportunity, and if the caravan starts to leave without giving you one, then make a break for it. A few minutes later, the argument seems to die down, and the guards relax their postures slightly. This might be your chance. You and Étienne carefully peer out from under the tarp, trying to gauge the situation. The guards are distracted, some of them idly passing the time by gambling or joking with each other. The other travelers have also disembarked from their wagons, going about their business in the town. Seeing your opportunity, you and Étienne spring into action. In a flash, you dart from the wagon and disappear into the crowd. You blend in with the other travelers, pretending to be just another weary traveler, looking for some rest and food. Your heart is pounding in your chest, but you keep your head down and focus on making it through the crowd. As you move deeper into the village, you catch glimpses of the caravan guards searching for you, but they seem to have lost track of you amidst the bustling crowd. Finally, you reach a quiet alleyway where you can stop and catch your breath. You turn to Étienne, relief flooding through you. "We did it," you whisper. "We're free." You say, "So what the fuck is the reason in coming to this place, Étienne? What's so goddamn special about New Iberia that makes it your end-all be-all?" Étienne looks around furtively before leaning in closer to you. "You know about the medicine we were supposed to trade for, right? Well, the truth is, Mara's friend is part of a group working on something big, something that could change everything. They believe that New Iberia is where it all began, and that it holds the key to fixing everything that's wrong with this world." He hesitates for a moment, then continues. "I don't know exactly what they're talking about, but it's my sister who's leading them. I have to believe that she knows what she's doing, that she'll find a way to make things right." He pauses, his expression distant. "And even if she doesn't, at least we tried. At least we gave it a shot." You say, "Ain't nothing gonna fix what's wrong with this world, you fucking moron. Is this medicine gonna undo 1,000 nuclear bombs dropping from the sky? Fuck no. God damn it all to fucking hell. This is why I left my comfy life for? What the fuck is wrong with you?" Étienne's face flushes red with anger and he takes a step back. "You don't understand. You're just looking at the surface. You don't know what they've been through, what they've been working on. Maybe it won't fix everything, but it could make a difference." He calms down a bit, taking a deep breath. "Look, I'm sorry. I know I can be passionate about this stuff, but please, Chris, I need your help. I need your trust. And if we find my sister and she's still alive, I need you to promise me you'll listen to her. You'll at least hear her out." You hesitate for a moment, torn between your growing doubts and your friendship with Étienne. Finally, you nod. "All right, I'll listen. But just so you know, I ain't promising nothing." Étienne nods, seeming to accept your terms. "Thank you, Chris. Thank you." He takes another deep breath and smiles weakly. "So where to next?" You say, "Wait, so we're supposed to be looking for your sister and you don't know where to next?" I swear to fucking God above, Étienne, I'm on my last goddamn thread here, motherfucker, so give me one goddamn good reason to keep following you. Étienne looks shamefaced. "I'm sorry, I know it's a lot to ask. Look, we just need to find more information. Someone who might know where she is or what she's been up to. There's a bar on the edge of town called the Devil's Dewdrop. It's known as a place where people come to trade gossip and rumors. If we can find anyone there who's been in touch with my sister's group, maybe they can lead us in the right direction." He pauses, then continues more earnestly. "Please, Chris, I know I've put you through a lot, but I can't do this alone. I need your help. You're my last hope." You hesitate for a moment considering the situation. Étienne is clearly desperate, and you feel a twinge of guilt for questioning his actions so harshly. Sighing, you nod. "All right, let's go find this bar then." Together you make your way through the town, eventually arriving at a decrepit-looking building with a flickering neon sign that reads The Devil's Dewdrop. The smell of stale alcohol, smoke, and cheap perfume hits you as you push the doors open, revealing a dimly lit interior filled with rowdy patrons and the muffled strains of live music. You spot Étienne scanning the crowd, his expression focused and intent. "You know what to do?" you ask quietly, motioning towards the bar. Étienne nods, taking a deep breath. "Yes, let's find someone who can help us." You order a strong drink at the bar and down it quickly, hoping to drown your worries for a moment. The bartender, a surly-looking man with a missing ear, nods at you as you finish and mumbles something about, "Next time, stranger." You order another round, eyeing the crowd cautiously. Étienne, meanwhile, has managed to strike up a conversation with a rough-looking man at the end of the bar. They talk in hushed tones, glancing every now and then at the exit, as if expecting someone to walk in at any moment. After a few minutes, the man leans in close and whispers something to Étienne, who nods eagerly before returning to your side. He says he knows someone who can help us. Étienne whispers, "We need to meet him outside, in the alley behind the bar, now." His expression is tense, his voice barely above a whisper. "Come on, we have to go." With a deep breath, you follow Étienne out of the bar and into the dimly lit alley. The air is thick with the smell of garbage and urine, and you can hear the faint sounds of music and laughter from the bar. As you round a corner, you see a hooded figure standing in the shadows, motioning for you to approach. "Who's this guy?" you ask Étienne in a low voice. "And what does he want?" Étienne shrugs, his voice barely audible above the sounds of the alley. "He's part of my sister's group. He says he has information for us." You say, "You better be right about this. If this goes wrong, I'll kill you myself, Étienne." Étienne nods grimly, meeting your gaze. "I know, Chris, but this is our best chance. Please, let's just hear him out." Together, you and Étienne approach the hooded figure, who leans in close as soon as you're within earshot. "Étienne," he whispers, "I can't believe you're here. We thought you were dead." "I'm sorry I had to leave like that," Étienne says, his voice shaking with emotion. "But I had to find Chris. He's the only one who could help us." The man looks at you, his eyes narrowing. "And who might you be, Chris?" You swallow hard, feeling the weight of their attention on you. "I'm just a trader, that's all, but I'm willing to help if I can." The man seems to consider this for a moment, then nods. "Very well. My name is Thomas. I was with your sister when she was captured. We've been trying to find a way to get the message out, to warn people about the Lamont Confederation. But we need your help, Chris. You have to get this information to the right people." He hands you a small scroll, sealed with wax and bearing an elaborate crest. "This contains everything you need to know, the names of the traitors, the locations of their strongholds. If you can get this to the resistance, they'll know what to do." Étienne steps forward, a pleading look in his eyes. "Please, Chris, you have to help us. My sister, she's the only family I have left. We can't let her die for nothing." You say, "Wait, your sister's dead? You've been leading me on a half story after half story this whole fucking time, man, and I'm tired of it. Fuck you, and fuck your bullshit medicine. I'm out, motherfucker. Hopefully I can find a job in this shithole and live a normal life again. Fuck." Étienne's face drops, his eyes welling with tears. "No, Chris, she's not. She's alive, but she's being held prisoner. This is our only chance to save her. Please don't abandon us now. You're all we have left." Thomas steps forward, his voice low and urgent. "Étienne is telling the truth, Chris. Your friend's sister is alive, but she doesn't have much time left. You have to help us. You're the only one who can do this." You feel a knot forming in your stomach as you look at Étienne, the desperation in his eyes echoing the plea in Thomas's voice. Part of you wants to turn your back on them, to find some semblance of a normal life in this godforsaken place. But another part of you, something deeper and more loyal, won't let you walk away from your friend in his hour of need. With a heavy sigh, you nod reluctantly. "All right, I'll help you. But I need to know more about what I'm getting into. Can you tell me more about this resistance and what I'm supposed to do with this scroll? And I want a goddamn gun. I'm tired of not being able to protect myself in this shithole of a wasteland." Étienne nods, relief flooding his features. "Yes, of course. The Resistance is a group of fighters dedicated to overthrowing the Lamont Confederation and restoring freedom to Bayou country. They're scattered across the countryside, operating in small cells to avoid detection. We'll give you information on where to find their leader. As for a weapon..." He glances uncertainly at Thomas. Thomas clears his throat, his face grim. "We can provide you with a pistol and some ammunition, but you must use it wisely and only as a last resort. The Confederation has informants everywhere, and one wrong move could put your life and the lives of many others in danger." Étienne nods in agreement. And Chris, once you find the resistance, don't trust anyone too easily. There are traitors among us, and they'll stop at nothing to protect their masters. Be careful who you trust. Étienne hands you a serviceable-looking pistol, its metal warm to the touch from being kept close to the fire. The gun is loaded with 6 rounds of ammunition. As you take it, he places a hand on your shoulder. I know this is a lot to ask, Chris, but I believe in you. You can do this. Thomas, his expression grave, speaks up. Before you leave, there's something else I should warn you about. The Confederation has been using a substance called somnambulant gas to control certain areas. It causes the victim to fall asleep and become highly suggestible. Do not under any circumstances inhale it. If you believe you've been exposed, wash your hands and eyes immediately. You nod grimly, tucking the pistol into your belt and the scroll away in a pocket. All right, Étienne, lead the way, but keep your guard up. I don't want any surprises. Étienne takes the lead, carefully picking their way through the maze of shacks and lean-tos that make up the small settlement. After a few minutes of walking, they pause at the edge of the trees, scanning the road leading out of town. Satisfied that it's clear, they motion for you to follow them. The trek to the resistance camp takes several hours, and you spend most of it on edge, your hand never far from the pistol. As the sun begins to set, you spot a familiar figure huddled in the shadows a short distance away. It's Mara, the woman who helped you yesterday. Étienne. She whispers, her eyes wide with fear. Quickly they're coming. Étienne curses under his breath, immediately dropping to a crouch and pulling you down with him. He gestures for Mara to remain quiet and still. Peering through the trees, you see several horsemen approach, their weapons drawn and torches blazing. It's the Lamont Confederation, and they've found your trail. We have to hide, Étienne hisses, tugging you behind a fallen log. And stay silent. There are 5 horsemen in total. 3 of them split up, searching the area methodically while the other 2 keep their eyes on the road. You can hear them muttering to each other in French, their voices tense and edgy. They seem to be looking for someone in particular, but you're not sure who. You take aim at the 3 horsemen searching the area and fire 3 shots in rapid succession, the pistol kicking back in your hand with each discharge. 2 of the horsemen crumple to the ground immediately, while the 3rd lets out a hoarse cry of pain and surprise. The other 2 horsemen on the road turn in your direction, their eyes wide with shock and fear. The one who was searching the area stumbles towards you, blood pouring from his neck, and falls face first into the leaves with a wet thud. The remaining 2 horsemen exchange a glance before spurring their horses into a run, vanishing into the trees and leaving you alone with the bodies. Étienne looks at you in a mixture of awe and fear. Chris, that was amazing. 2, I didn't think you could do that. As you search the bodies of the Lamont Confederation horsemen, you find a variety of useful items, a saber, sheathed on one of the horses. Its blade is clean and sharp, perfect for close-quarters combat, a pouch filled with 20 rounds of ammunition for your pistol, a small sack of jerky and hardtack, which you assume is their rations. Étienne, you say, pocketing the ammunition and food. These sabers could come in handy. Want to split them? Étienne nods grimly. I could use one, but we should hurry. The sooner we reach the resistance camp, the better. You say agreed, but next time I say I want a gun, listen to me, goddammit. With a gun I could have ended this a long time ago. Étienne gives you a sheepish look. I'm sorry, Chris. I didn't think. I'll make sure to get you a gun next time, I promise. You say, all right, good. Now let's go, you sumbitch. You and Étienne hastily make your way through the forest, following the trail left by the 2 remaining horsemen. After what seems like an eternity of brisk walking and occasional jogging, you finally reach a small clearing where several people are huddled around a smoldering campfire. They turn to look at you as you emerge from the trees, expressions of relief and surprise on their faces. One of them, a tall woman with an air of authority about her, steps forward and extends a hand. My name is Mariette. Thank God you've made it here alive. We heard the Confederation was after you. You must be Chris and Étienne. I've been expecting you. Étienne takes her hand, looking relieved. Thank you, Mariette. We need your help. The Confederation has information on our sister. You say his sister, not mine. My sister dyed her hair and is trying to grow a dick. Weird bitch, let me tell you what. Étienne shoots you a sharp look, but Mariette cuts him off before he can react. We know about your sister, Étienne. Mara told us about her. We'll do everything we can to help her too. Right now, you both need to rest and recover. You look exhausted. She turns to one of the men in the group. Jean, show these two to a tent and give them some food. They've been through a lot. Looking back at you and Étienne, she adds, and bring them some water for their weapons. They'll need them cleaned and reloaded. You and Étienne follow Jean through the camp, grateful for the food and water he hands you. He leads you to a small tent where you can rest, promising to bring you any news he hears about the Confederation or your sisters. As you settle in for the night, the events of the past few days catch up to you, and you drift off into a fitful sleep, haunted by the memories of blood and violence. You wake up with a massive 17-inch erection. Étienne lets out a low whistle as you stir in your sleep, your massive erection tinting the blanket. Damn, Chris, I didn't know you had it in you. Maybe you should join the resistance, eh? He slaps you playfully on the back, causing your cock to twitch. You slowly sit up, adjusting your pants self-consciously. What time is it? Étienne glances at his watch. It's almost dawn. The others should be up soon. We'd better find Mariette and see what she has to say. You stand, stretching your limbs and feeling the weight of your erection. It seems like it's here to stay for now. You decide to make the best of it and focus on the task at hand. As you leave the tent, you catch sight of Mariette talking to some of the other resistance members by the fire. She sees you approach and breaks into a reassuring smile. Good morning, Chris. I trust you both slept well. She eyes your tentative expression and adds, I take it you're feeling a bit more awake today? Étienne clears his throat, looking uncomfortable. Yes, ma'am. We were just about to come find you. Mariette nods. Very well. There's something I need to discuss with both of you. Come have a seat. She gestures to some empty crates nearby. You obey, sitting down as Étienne takes his place beside you. Mariette takes a deep breath before continuing. As you sit with Mariette, listening to her plan of action, you can't help but admire her leadership and determination. Despite the grim situation they're in, she exudes a quiet confidence that inspires hope in those around her. As she lays out the details of the operation to rescue Étienne's sister, you find yourself nodding along, fully committed to seeing it through. When she finally finishes, Mariette turns to you and Étienne. I know this is a lot to ask of you both, but I believe in you. You've proven yourselves to be resilient and resourceful. We need you on this team. What do you say? Étienne looks at you, then back at Mariette. We're in, Mariette. Whatever it takes, we'll get my sister back. You say, well, thanks for answering for me, you asshole. Yeah, I guess I'll fucking help, but there better be some amazing pussy or some strong booze or fucking something at the end of this for me. Étienne rolls his eyes, but Mariette merely smiles. I understand your desire for reward, Chris, and I can promise you this, if we succeed, you and Étienne will be handsomely rewarded. But more importantly, you'll be freeing your friend from a terrible fate. Isn't that reward enough? She pauses, studying your expression. Fair enough. How about this? If we are successful, and I mean if we get your friend out and the information to the resistance safely, I will grant you both a wish. Anything you desire, you shall have. You consider her offer, weighing the potential rewards against the dangers ahead. The image of Mariette's promise dances temptingly before your eyes. Finally, you nod. All right, Mariette. Shit, why'd you tell me you was a genie? Étienne snorts, but Mariette ignores him. Thank you, Chris. I appreciate your willingness to help. Now, we have some preparations to make. We'll meet back here in an hour to go over the final details. Is that enough time for you two to prepare yourselves? She casts a meaningful glance at your erection, causing your cheeks to flush. I'll leave you to that. With a knowing smirk, she turns and walks away, leaving the two of you alone. Étienne slaps your shoulder again, this time harder. All right, Chief, let's get this show on the road. I know just the place to find some food and rest before the big day. You say you ever smack me again, I'll kill you where you stand, boy. Étienne freezes, a look of shock and betrayal in his eyes. Chris, You say, no, don't fucking Chris me. I'm doing all this to help your fucking sister and you gon' get shitty with me and smack me. Don't fucking push me, Étienne. I wouldn't be in this mess if it wasn't for you anyway. Étienne blinks, then takes a step back, hands raised in a placating gesture. I'm sorry, Chris. I didn't mean anything by it. I'm just on edge. We both are. He sighs, rubbing the back of his neck. Look, I know I've been kind of distant lately. It's just this whole thing with my sister and having you here I guess I didn't know how to handle.